This is Davis Islands, former home to Derek Jeter and Tom Brady. And this is the fastest cycling route that covers every inch of every road on the island. How did we get here? I used to live on the island until a certain natural disaster made that a little more difficult. While living here, I often rode my bike and recorded on Strava. Looking at the maps of my rides made me wonder how to make a route which covers every single road on the island. I started planning a route by hand, but quickly realized that even for a small island like this, it's not a trivial task, and a suboptimal route will quickly grow in length. Being a software engineer, I started searching for a programmatic solution, which is how I found the Chinese postman problem. This is a graph problem, and it uses the analogy that a postman has to deliver mail to everyone's house on every street using the shortest route possible. Luckily, somebody smarter than me has already solved this problem and has provided source code for solving the postman problem on a given area of the map. I modified this to work with a Polygon GeoJSON area of my choosing and created an outline around the island. The route is around 27 miles, which is surprisingly long for such a small area. Taking a look at the first segment of the route shows how hard this would be to guess by hand. There are seemingly nonsensical places where the route turns around at an intersection instead of choosing a forward direction. I modified the script a little bit to output the resulting route into a GPX file so I can follow it while I'm biking. I'm using the Komoot app to follow the GPX. Komoot has a handy feature when you import a GPX file, which helps simplify some of the weird artifacts on the route, like here and here. With the route loaded onto my phone, it's time to start riding. Alright, so we're on the bridge to Davis Islands. We're not going to start the GPS yet because the route doesn't start for about like half a mile into the island, so we're going to bike to the start point. Good thing is it doesn't look too windy. We're at the start of the route. I think the hardest part's going to be staying on track since the Komoot waypoints are so close together. For the most part, following the turn-by-turn directions on Komoot was easy enough. Komoot isn't designed for this type of challenge, so anytime I strayed too far from one marker on the map, it would try to navigate me on the shortest route to the next marker, which didn't necessarily match with the planned route. I think this guy wants to race. Okay, so we've come from down there on the island. We're heading out towards the very tip, towards the yacht club. This is the part that I couldn't get the GPX file to pick up, so I just mentally noted that once we got here, we needed to make a detour. So this is an interesting one. I mentioned earlier in the video that actually two hurricanes hit Davis Islands last year. While I was doing this ride, I noticed that there were so many houses that were still torn down. You can see here, a couple more ahead on the right are still being rebuilt. So it's been over a year at this point, and a ton of stuff is still under construction. So luckily, a lot of people on this island have the money to rebuild, but I do know a lot of people that were living in apartments that lost their homes. Stopped for water on mile 18. Legs are feeling pretty cooked now and phone is almost dead, so we'll see if we're done soon. Just finished up. We did 29 miles in just over 2 hours, so ended up being quite a bit further than the original map said. There was a few U-turns and I think some extra distance just heading around on some of the routes that Komoot missed. The biggest improvement I'd make if I tried to do this challenge again would be to make a route which includes less U-turns. When you're riding a bike, it's hard to slow down to an almost stop to turn around and then get up to speed again. I think this makes sense if you're walking or running, but optimizing a route which might have a bit of a longer distance, but which includes less U-turns might actually be faster when you're biking. This is my first real video, so I appreciate you all watching, and I hope to see you in the future with a little bit better gear for recording in person.